from the ashes.
Hello and welcome to the Lost Pines Workshop. I'm J.C. Jensen. So this is Build a Rocking Chair, episode 26. So the next step in our project is to cut and fit the headrest to the back legs. To facilitate that, we first have to make a jig. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole process of making this jig, primarily the base. If you have a bandsaw, that's great. It's probably different than mine. So going through the step-by-step for making this is immaterial because it's probably not going to fit your saw. But I'll show you what I did. All right, so Hal makes his base and he attaches it by indexing or drilling holes in the base plate or the deck, right, of his saw. What did I do? Oh. And then has dowels in his base that index into those two holes that he's drilled. Well, his is much larger than mine. So what I did, rather than drilling holes, was outline the up there. Measured all this shape I had here in the back, and then cut it out of there to include the slot capable of holding the blade I intend to cut the headrest with. I then attached on the bottom these cleats so that mine will index off of the back of this back corner of the table. So now when I just slide it in here, get it to drop, push it all the way forward and all the way to that side, the corner is indexed on the table. And it's in the same place every time. Now all I have to do is just take my couple of squeeze clamps and I'll just do one. I'll put one on this side, one on this side, and that's going to lock this base in place. I did use 3/4 inch ply, so it's nice and rigid. And then because this hangs out off of the tabletop, my tabletop stops here, and I've got about 24 inches hanging out. I put a couple more ribs down here on the bottom to just stiffen this up a little bit. Even though our cutting weight is on this end, the rotational piece, I'll show you here in a minute, does apply weight here. So I wanted to keep everything nice and flat, so I just added the ribs. Down here at the end, we have a sliding mechanism to locate this dowel. So we have two holes in this plate that are referenced from Hal's drawing. The outside, for cutting the outside radius, is at 28.5 inches. And then the second hole is 1.25 inches in, plus the width of the kerf of your saw blade, which for me is 1/16 of an inch. So once I've got it set, the first hole cuts the outside radius, and slide the whole assembly up, index it into the second hole that cuts the inside radius. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. This is adjustable, so if you want to adjust the thickness or where you're cutting, I can simply slide this plate in and out, and I just used a groovy little knob with the T-nut embedded in the plate. All right, so there's the base. For the pivot mechanism, it has this base plate, which is 1/2 inch plywood, and then these gee-whiz adjustable pieces. This one, it will slide horizontally, and then this piece of plywood here, whoops, slides in and out. And what that allows me to do is put the headrest on the, the inside on the arch, and then line these up precisely so that these blocks will land on the flat, on a flat of the headrest on either side. Okay, and then once the headrest is attached, which I'll get to here shortly, find my hole. Insert the dowel. So imagine the headrest attached to these pieces that are locked down. This screw locks it in place on this deck. All right, headrest in place, start the saw, make the cut. All right, and then this arch was made originally simply by adjusting this plate up to the saw and creating the same curve, right? And then I adjusted it to the depth that I needed for the first and the second cut, or the two holes. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, now that I've got this set, and I use the same method, right? Here's a knob with a T-nut embedded in the bottom here, and then this right now is kind of crude. This is actually a T-nut. I thought I had a whole box of 1/4-inch hex nuts and wing nuts. So right now I'm just using the T-nut, and that's locking with the same knob, is locking this in place. So everything will be rigid. Okay, so now I'll move over to the workbench and we'll prepare the headrest for the bandsaw. Okay, so here's my headrest. We're going to do with this now, on the outside, I did a really good job during my glue up of cleaning off all the squeeze out. So mine is relatively flat. If yours is not, get this glue scraped off for the next phase. Okay, inside don't need to worry about too much. If you've got a lot, especially where your pads are going to land, you might clean those off as well. So from here, you decide, is this the top or is this the top? Doesn't really matter. Just decide which one works for you. All right. For me, I'm going with my numbered side that I did originally, that currently has well, both sides have the holes, but my numbered side is the most even. This last one, it slid up just slightly, so it sticks up here. This will be my top. The numbers are on the top, so it's easy for me to remember. Now that I have the back side nice and flat, I'm simply going to take it over to the joiner, keeping one of these two flats up against my 90-degree fence, and I'm going to joint the bottom edge of this so that it's perfectly flat all the way across. Then it will be ready to attach to our jig for the bandsaw. All right, so I got the jig all set up. I've got the headrest attached to the T-bracket here on the front, where the flat plate of the T-bracket lands perfectly on two flats of the headrest. And I used double-sided tape to attach the headrest to the brackets, and I clamped it for 15 minutes-ish. All right, so that's what's holding it on. Now I've got the saw, everything's set up. I'll turn on the dust collector and hope it works.
I will rise. No satisfaction without the fight. A man has limits.
right, so I'm really pleased with how that came out. Nice and smooth. Probably the best bandsaw cut I've ever made. So now all we do is adjust for the inside cut simply by removing the dowel, sliding it up to the second hole, reinstall the dowel. Now it's repositioned. So with this and no other adjustments going by the measurements that Hal gave us, when this second pass is made, that's going to leave our headrest at 1.25 inches thick. If you want more or less, then you can adjust your holes and distance from the blade accordingly. Groovy? All right, let's cut this.
Did it my way. I'm gonna take what's mine. I paid my dues. I dare you to walk a mile in these shoes. The beat in my soul just keeps getting.
Okay, so note to self. I used the double-sided tape I was using was 1 inch wide, and I used 3 strips. Needless to say, it stuck really well because this was yeah, it just peeled right off. When I tried to take the cherry cut off, it took the whole thing. So we'll be remaking that. Headrest though, beautiful outside curve, beautiful inside curve. And okay, so my dowel was off just a smidge. I'm a 64th fat from an 1.25 inches. So the next step of our process, now that we've got this nice and curved, is to remember I did the bottom edge on the joiner. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this top edge on the table saw so that it's parallel. All right, so I'm simply going to set it up in here, and while keeping the leading edge on the where it first makes contact here on the blade, I want to ensure that I keep it flat on the table as I run it through against the fence, like so. All right, we do not want to approach it this way because it'll spit it right back at you. All right, so make sure that you keep that edge down on the table as you enter the blade all the way through. All right, my blade height is just high enough to clear, right? Clear and clean.
Give me some of that power. Give me some of that power. So keep your silver. I came for gold. No place for quitters. Only for the bold. I'm gonna take what's mine. I paid my dues. I dare you to walk a mile in these shoes. The beat in my soul just keeps getting louder.
Now with both sides flat and parallel, I just took my pen on the back and I marked the top. And then on either side, I took my protractor and set it at 6 degrees. And then squaring from the top, scribe a line, and scribe a line down this side, indicating our direction of cut. All right, now I'm going to move over to the table saw, and I'm going to cut each end. This is where we start to fit the headrest between the back legs, and I'm really going to take my time. All right, my initial cut is probably going to be a little short, and that's okay. But I'm just going to very slowly and incrementally work it to where it fits. These lines are simply to indicate direction. There's no measurement here. It's just to remind me of which way is which when I'm on the table saw. All right, so here at the saw, using my big panel sled, this is the 6-degree jig that we made and used for the back leg seat joint. All right, and I've clamped it to the sled with this leading front edge, about maybe a 32nd off of the inside of the blade. All right, for my first cut, I'm going to take the top with it faced towards me, flat up against our jig, and I'm going to start, I'm going to start with the top edge corner flush with the end of the jig. All right, that's going to take material off of this side, but not all the way to the top. There'll be a little bit left. All right, then I'm going to flip everything around and we'll
give me some of that power. Give me some of that power. I want to feel it in my blood.
Okay, now I flipped the 6-degree jig around so that the wide end is near the blade. Again, setting the distance for the back just off the blade to the right. Now I have the top facing away. Set it in here against the jig. Now I'm going to take this top corner again, and just because of the orientation of the jig, I can't use it for alignment. So I'm going to slide the headrest over until this very top corner is about a 32nd of an inch off the blade to the right. All right, that will give me the same cut angle as I have on the other side. All right, so my first cut, this is the top, this is the bottom. My first cut angle yielded the 6 degrees. And you notice I did not cut it all the way up. All right, same on both ends. They are equal. Now I'm simply going to check and verify that the angle is correct with the chair. Okay, so another reason that I cut it the way that I did is if you cut this so it's perfect all the way up, you may have cut it too short. All right, so again, I said I was going to check the angle as I placed it in here, but I'm also going to check the width. All right, if I get this in here and the gap, I have a gap at the top and it's tight at the bottom, then I know it's too long, right? But if I have a gap at the bottom, then I've cut it too short. All right, so I send it in here and I had to spread it apart. Of course, I'm doing this backwards so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to slide this all the way down to the bottom. I'll go there and I'll go right about there. All right. So as you can see, so I've got a gap at the top. So I'm going to trim another 1/16 off of each side. Because the other thing I'm trying to do is keep the center line of the headrest in line with the center of my seat. So I'm going to work at this incrementally, right? Starting at 1/16. And then it's going to be trial and error until it fits. So it took several passes. I lost count of how many. Taking, just small incremental passes on each end until I achieved my objective, which was, a nice tight fit down both sides. This is a ratchet strap that I've used, as Hal describes. Works pretty well. But I also went ahead and put these 4 clamps on to keep the front face right now flush on the front of the leg. The headrest itself is slightly thicker than the legs, and that's okay. But I'm going to flush them up on the front. Now, as for the fit going in, one side is perfectly flush down here at the bottom, and the other side is a little bit proud or hanging down farther, and that's what we want. If it's, whatever the difference is here, we'll make up for on shaping the headrest curve to match the leg, rather than trying to get, we've already done the leg and it is where we want it. So we'll bring the headrest into compliance over here. Okay, but that's later on. Really take your time, do it evenly by, cutting incrementally off of each side. You keep this center seam in line with the seam of your seat. All right, so from here, next thing up is to drill our holes on each side and kerfing the top so that we can finish the layout and trimming of this headrest. I can't stress enough, small increments, just sneak up on it, because if you take off too much, you're going to have to put something back on. You should, even with this final fit, you should still probably have to pull those legs apart just a little bit to get that headrest to slide down in there properly. Okay, so now I've got the headrest is fit. I've got everything, it's nice and tight and placed exactly where I want it. The clamps are simply to help maintain the alignment flush on the front, though it protrudes a little, just a smidge on the back side. We'll take care of that later. What we're going to do now is screw on the headrest, right? Pre-drill the holes, add some screws. I'm using a 5/32 by 6-inch drill bit. We'll place it in that pilot hole there. Center it up the best that I can. Starting with the bottom hole. And I'm not making it super tight. All right, there's the bottom one, and we'll do the top the same way. All right, top screw is in, and then I'll go ahead and drill the middle. But we will not put a screw in that. All right, I'll go to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Okay, with the screws securing the headrest now, simply take our saw and we're going to put a kerf in, but just here on the front of each side is our locator for the kerf. Doesn't have to be an extraordinarily large, we're just locating. So once you've got the kerfs established on either side, remove the screws simply, and let's remove the headrest and prepare for our next operation. If you like this video, please hit that like button again. We'll see you down the road.
Power!